Hello everyone and welcome to the Deepbluerenegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deepbluerenegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode, I forgot. It is Saturday, May 26, 2018, and I'm glad you could join me today. It is episode 231. Yay! I took a break last week because I was traveling, and while I could have recorded like a partial episode, I suspect it's gonna be a short one. But I do have my new studio lights in place, so hopefully everything is bright and shadow-free and gorgeous. So while we might be in the shadow kingdom of darkness, I have now armed myself accordingly, and we're all good. Now the fan's going like crazy right now, because I didn't think ahead and turn the AC on. So we normally don't spend a lot of time upstairs in our house, and we have like a separate AC unit for the upstairs, so we just leave the AC unit off, and our downstairs is pretty comfortable because heat rises. Whatever. Michigan summer is over now in Texas, so while it probably would have been pretty pleasant to record outside by the peach trees, it's like 96 right now, so not so much. It might be 96 under these lights, though. Who knows? So, my cousin was successfully wed. My brother and his wife were successfully showered. I finally got to meet my sister-in-law, which was fantastic. Super duper nice, chill person. So glad. My brother's pretty chill too. I'm pretty chill. Like, it was a good chill circle. Sadly, there was like tremendous drama, so my sister couldn't come up with her kids. Bother. Like, my niece got some sort of, we assume, spider bite, and like her arm swelled to like twice its size, and she tried driving up with just the newborn. No. She tried, but she did not have the willpower to power through, so we didn't get to have any baby cuddling, but such is life. Let's see. So, I've been pretty monogamous this past 2 weeks, as in this was my only knitting project, and now I need to figure out what's going on. So I am not yet done. I was hoping to have like an easy, breezy stash finish, but it's gonna take a little bit more effort to do that. And I'm also driven a little crazy because I'm having a ribbing flipping issue. It looks fine on, but it definitely doesn't want to go flat. So this is my Still Light tunic, which is a Vera Valimaki pattern that I have knit out of Nest Fiber hand spun, which I did a combo spin project, so it's 5 different club colorways of Nest. And I have a 3/4 length sleeve, so yay. I have about 2.5 grams left of that ball, so I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with my slightly larger ball of yarn. It weighs a little bit more. I'm keeping everything handy just in case, though. But yeah, no. So I knit the sleeve pretty much today. It does represent an interesting challenge, though. So when you have a much shorter round of stitches, the hand spun makes much bigger stripes. So I decided to do 1 by 1, alternating to break up the stripes, but then that like had like the opposite effect. So it was the case where it was like blending, and so then I was getting mega blocks of color. So what I decided to do instead was I thought for a moment, and I asked myself, what would Helena do? And Helena is Teeny Giraffe on Ravelry, and the Midnight Sheep on Instagram. And what Helena would do is she would calculate how much yarn she needed for her sleeve, and then spin special short sleeves, or special yarn with like it ripped apart more times in order to match the striping in the rest of the sweater. But I didn't think about that. I don't think I would have thought about that even if I could. So what I did instead was I used the random number generator. So I set up the random number generator to be from random.org, guys. They use atmospheric noise. It must be awesome. So using that, I set it up for 1 to 5 because I was like looking at the stripes in my sweater and like they could be up to 5 rows, and definitely were 1 as well. And so then then I would generate a random number, knit that many rows, and then I would switch colors and generate the random number and then knit however many rows it told me to. So this gives it sort of the same look as the rest of the body, maybe a little bit longer in color repeat. It would have been better if I'd had 4 colors, but that would have just been insane. But that broke it up a little bit more so that it wasn't quite as different. So there definitely are longer color runs on the sleeve, but it still has some of the shorter blips that I was looking for. And the pockets are all fixed. And on my trip, I ended up knitting the rest of the body. And then this week's progress. So on the trip, I knit from this marker here to the end, and then I ended up doing the ribbing. I started off with the 3mm needle, the US 2.5, but I reached down. But it was flipping like nobody's business. So then I switched to a so then I ended up switching to a US 2.5, which would be a 2. Or what was it? I switched to a 2.5mm needle, which is a US 1.5. It's like the most dangerous part of the like knitting needle spectrum, which is my US 2.5 3mm needle and my US 2.5 or whatever, my US 1.5 2.5mm needle. There's a lot of room for confusion there. So I dropped 2 needle sizes to knit the ribbing, but it was still a little flippy. So I don't know if that means that I need to rip back a little bit farther and knit longer ribbing. I'm probably okay with that. It shouldn't be that crazy to do, it's just a little bit annoying. I don't know. So the inch was not sufficient for keeping it in place, but it did seem to be a little bit better with the 2.5mm needles, so we're just gonna go with it. Make it work. But I am super duper close to being done. So I have 35 grams left of yarn. Well, more like 37, but whatever. No, it's 40, but I'm only going to be knitting like 35. So I have 35 grams to go on the sweater, and then we'll be done, and that'll be most of 2,000 yards. Not exactly, but pretty close. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen a couple of pictures. So far, so good. I have to laugh a little bit because I wouldn't think I would normally be able to wear orange, and I'm also amused at how orange the sweater ended up turning out. I think a lot of it has to do with the M&R. Having like 1/5 of your yarn be orange just seems to give it that color, that overall sense. I might be closer to finishing the sweater, but I ended up getting some really good opportunities to spin, so I took those. And beside, what would be, so Stash Dash started Friday. I have finished nothing yet, but I sort of set everything up so that I could get a decent amount done for Stash Dash, so that's good. It's really nice to have a cool drink. It would have been way too much to have coffee. Let's see. I ended up having a very good opportunity to spin last weekend. So we played Plane Flight Roulette, and we won. Sometimes we play Plane Flight Roulette, and then we end up in the back of the plane, and we have a transfer, and it's filled with sadness. But this time, for whatever reason, we managed to end up in the comfort economy, or whatever. Which is tremendously more room. Even though I'm not a tall person, it's super duper pleasant. And that meant that I could actually spin on the entire flight back from Michigan. So, I have nowhere to put this drink. And then I will need to put the drink down, so we'll make it work. So I got to spin the entire flight back. I also got to spin in the airport too. We didn't get such nice seats on the flight out, but look at that. We are getting to the end of the first half, and it looks like everything is actually going to fit on the spindle, because it is a little bit magic. So I'm seeing, so we have this heading into teal here, and so we've got some yellow and some red, so it's a little bit more than a color repeat left to go. But not bad at all. Much, much closer to completion than I've been in quite some time. I left the scale downstairs because I was weighing like a mad fool to make sure that I can make my sleeves long enough. But yeah, no, I'm almost to the halfway point on this project. So I've been working on this since September. So this is Groomwood Fiberworks. This is their Yak Silk blend, so it is super duper nice to spin. And I'm spinning this on my Jerry Brock's Woodworks elephant spindle, but you haven't been able to see the elephants in like forever. So I probably did, where was it? Like, so if I had a color sequence of red to blue, I probably did at least 4 or 5 on the flight back. So things get done when you work on them, kids. So that was pretty good. Pretty straightforward there. So quite a bit less bulk in this bag, and some really good spinning time. It was a little bit exciting when we were like taking off, because like it's a plumb bob, so the plane is at an angle, and my spindle was oriented towards Earth, and that ended up going pretty far on my seat. But it wasn't terrible. So a lot of people have like the super duper small ones. Mine, I think, is about an ounce spindle, so I'm definitely pretty far into the spindle isn't working super duper great anymore, but I'm proud, so whatever. It was also interesting because no one commented on it at all. Like, no. Like, normally when I'm spinning, there's generally something said, but not this time. It was everyone was pretty chill. So I was glad to make some big progress on that project, and most of my progress was the sweater. anyways, so whatever. I've also made some pretty good progress on my Nest green sweater yarn spin. Because, yeah, I'm knitting a sweater with Nest, but this was supposed to go on the needles before the other one was, so we're just going with it. So this is Nest, Mistletoe, and the Superwash Merino Silk, and it is, I'm almost done with the first third, which I cannot show you with one hand, so little teeny weeny, there you go, little teeny weeny chunk of fiber left, and probably when I finish up the singles for this, I'm going to go on a big plying run. That is mostly because of stash reasons. But here is the other 2/3 of the fiber. I ended up putting it in my Three Waters Farm Ziploc bag. But I just took the fiber and split it into, or sort of folded it into thirds and then split it apart that way. And there were 2 big pieces of fiber, so I ended up zhuzhing it around. So it was about 89 grams per ply. Pretty close. I think one of them was 91, and I guess there was really no fixing that. So I have 2 89s and a 91, which, whatever, 2 grams. We'll make it work. But I'm almost to the point now where I need to start focusing on my bin projects again. So we shall see where things go from there. So it's out of frame, but I do have all of my Spin the Bin fiber in a cubby, along with some BFO. I don't know why, I just have it there. And I know, what would it be? So I have 2 smaller projects, and probably one pretty big project, but for example I have like my lovely beach colored fiber that is totally becoming a shawl for me. I have some SSK fiber, and also some Ross Farms as well. I was wondering about having the Ross Farms as like a supported spindle project, but I'm not sure now, just because of how quickly I'm working through my other spindle project. I've also got 5 ounces of gnome spun in like pinks and purples and sort of blues, and then I have 2 smaller cotton projects, which is probably an opportunity to use the fast flyer on my reel. I have never spun a significant amount of cotton before, so that's going to be entertaining. And then I have a fiber optic gradient on one side, and then I have a Nidian color sort of tonal. I'm guessing that it was probably an oatmeal or black BFO, I think, in super duper crazy jewel tones. So all sorts of purple going on over here, but now that we have lights, it'll be okay. So one possible plan was to say, for example, take the gnome spawn and the fiber optic and combine them into some sort of big master project. I don't need a full 4 ounces to knit a hat for me, so there could be some really cool things that I could do by splitting the gradient a little bit. Because it is, I think it's a layered gradient. But what would it be? I probably do need to get back to spinning from the bin again, because I'm probably not going to start sweaters again for some time. I don't know. I'm probably not going to do probably not going to do wool sweaters for some time. I may be tempted into doing some of my linen sweaters over the summer, because I've really been enjoying working on the sweater project. I've really enjoyed being monogamous, even though it makes for a short podcast. Whatever. I figure you guys don't care that much. And now my yarn, or whatever, my fiber is being ejected from the bin. So I'll have to be more careful about putting it back. So I haven't decided yet. I may sit down and decide about what I want to do after I finish my singles, which may be tonight. And then I have these 3 balls left to apply together for Stash Dash Yardage. So we'll see how things come together. What would it be? Like, I've tried to, or what is it? Like, my normal way of succeeding at Stash Dash is a combination of being monogamous on a project until right before, and then spinning the dickens out of everything. The corollary to spinning the dickens out of everything is that my little hand-spun cubby is, about ready to explode, so I haven't been, it may be the case where I need to take a break from Spin the Bin, because I am spending more time spinning than knitting, and that the Spin the Bin is resulting in me quickly accumulating handspun. And it's to the point where I don't want to, like, the handspun that I do have that I'm not working with right now is stuff like, I don't want to give it to anyone, it is mine. Like a dragon. So it's stuff that I really want to use, but I haven't figured out what project I'm making with it. So that may explain some of the strangeness. Who knows? So I think that's where I'm at right now. Whatever. There's like fiber everywhere, so I think that ended up coloring maybe the last purchases I ended up making at like DFW Fiber Fest, for example. Oh well, such is life. So, and then I'll be making more handspun with my crazy plying plans. But I do have a pattern in mind for that one, so that's not too bad. And I got it on sale. So exciting. What was it? So that was super duper exciting, actually. But I'm not sure what I want to do next. I suppose I need to power through the rest of the sleeve, and perhaps that'll be a good thing, because it's going to be a super duper boring Memorial Day weekend. It's been super duper boring so far, and I'm so excited. My only plan right now is to meet a friend from Completely Twisted and Arbitrary at one of my favorite local yarn shops in the area, which is the McKinney Knittery. So, it should be fun, and if we so desire, we can have brunch. It is a hipster epicenter, so there must be brunch. So that's sort of where I am right now. So we shall see after I sort of get through sort of this backlog of everything that I intended to push through for Stash Dash to try to decide what my next move is going to be. So obviously, hopefully getting big yardage on. I'm hoping it's like 2-ply fingering, because that would be good. And see where things take me from there. And then I just have to laugh, because this next sweater is going to be so much different than the current one, so that'll be fun too. Let's see, what else? See, it looks like it's a normal-sized episode despite the nonsense. Another thing that I may end up doing is actually using my hackle. So it's sitting up there with its protective cardboard because it is the most terrifying thing I own right now. You might be able to cause more damage with the combs, but this hackle is pretty scary. But what I want to do is blend my fleece that I dyed a little bit better so colors end up, because the way it worked out, it wasn't as blended as I wanted it to be. So the plan there is to sort of put a lot of it onto the hackle as much as I can fit, diz it off into bigger tops. Hopefully a fewer number of tops, because I have a bajillion balls. Oh wait, look at my bajillion balls. Oh, you can't even see. But there's all sorts of crazy colors going on in here, so it's a little bit shiny, but you can see how there are more green ones and more purple ones. And then there's way more purpley ones on this side of the bag. So the hope would be to sort of blend it together a little bit better. So that it makes a more uniform yarn. And have it be subtle in the fact that it's like all sorts of crazy colors combined together. But right now it would make something pretty stripy, which wasn't what I intended with it. I didn't put any of it in my bin this year, so that's also like another auxiliary extracurricular project for the year. Yeah, whatever. Hopefully there's going to be a little bit more time for that sort of nonsense, so shouldn't be too crazy. But one of the things that I've been contemplating is whether or not I want to take my linen from House of Yarn and make a linen sweater dress with it, and substitute the linen for the mini dress pattern, and have like another cool sweater to wear with leggings. Or if I want to cast on for vitamin D with the yarn that I got from Claudia's Hand Painted Yarn. So it may be smart to use some of my sweater quantities. Be a good choice. Since I'm spending sweater quantities and I can't like not knit all summer because it's gonna get to 100 this week, so craziness. It wasn't too bad knitting the sweater because the bulk of the sweater was away and I just had the sleeve on my lap, and that was okay, but barely okay. Curse you, summer. That must be the reason why my Stash Dash winning plan is to spin all of the things. And the way I do Stash Dash is actually I just declare in a group for however much I end up making. So last year was 10,000. I don't think with the new spinning rules that I'll make 15K. It'd be cool if I did, but what would it be? It's a far cry from when I was like struggling to make 5K, so I can't make 5K of knitting without having a stupid number of whips, I do believe. But 5K of spinning, no problem. Silliness. So, I think that's everything for this week. I should be able to record next week. I'm going to look up the date, because I don't want to do the calculation. So, should be able to record again on June 2nd. So, should be good. I'll have to check some dates and some things. I think I'm inspiring high schoolers on the 1st. Not too far away. So, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye.